What Happens When Your First Ever Podcast Guest is also the debut indie author of a Regency romance novel you just couldn't put down. Welcome to episode 0. This is the first ever episode, the first recording, the first experiment, and it's the moment where everything started. And the person that was willing to be my guinea pig was J.M.Zamudio, which wrote Memories of You, which is the novel that I was referring to. It's witty, it's heartfelt, and absolutely everything that I wanted out of a historical Regency romance novel. The conversation you're going to hear was taken during a TikTok live, and it's full of lessons and laughter, and it's raw, it's real, it's filled with heart, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's dive in.
Awesome. Hello.
Yeah, we have a what do we have, a 22-day streak or something?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's like 22 days.
Nice.
So it's nice to officially meet you. I mean, like unofficially, officially.
Yeah, visually, officially.
Exactly.
Nice.
All right, cool.
Well, I have your book right here.
Yeah, it's so weird for me. Like it's such a strange feeling for other people to like be holding my book. Like it really is. It's really surreal.
I'm gonna be honest. When I got it and it arrived in the mail, I wasn't expecting it to be so thick because I read it so fast.
Like you should have seen my husband's response. Like whenever I got it, he's like, "Wow, that's actually really big." And then he like scrolled through. He's like, "There's no pictures in this. How do you expect me to read this?" Like he totally had like a Gaston moment. And I was like, "Okay, cool." Like but he knows the entire story anyway. Like I've been sitting there being like, "Oh, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that" for like a year.
Awesome.
So like, yeah, he knows everything. Not a big deal. But yeah, it is. It's a lot bigger than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
And it's like I wrote it too, and I was like, "Ooh, I wrote a lot of words." Like my grandmother-in-law actually, she was like, "Wow, I didn't realize you had so much to say." It's like, "Oh yeah, I've got enough to fill at least 2 more of those bad boys. Like you just wait."
Plenty to say. Yeah, and I have a privileged. Sorry, can you hear me? Okay, actually.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Okay. Yeah. I can hear you great. What's up, David? Saying hello to those.
I have privileged information because I have privileged information, and I'm really excited about her next 2 books. But to be honest, so every time I buy a book, whether it's indie or a like traditional, it doesn't matter. Whatever book I get, I always read like the first 3 pages or 4 pages, to kind of, huh?
No, I'm just saying hi to people as they go up.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. So I always read the first 3 pages, and I knew that you were going to be bumped to my TBR because of this moment right here on the first page.
All right, which one exactly? Like just like the first moment, or like?
So it starts right. Lincolnshire. Sorry, can't speak. Lincolnshire, 1810. Not bothering with her shoes, Cassandra Cooper bolted out of her bedchamber and sprinted down the hall. Cotton stockings slid along freshly polished hardwood with a high-pitched squeak as she rounded the corner to the staircase. Taking the steps 2 at a time, she barreled toward the first floor. The chime of the grandfather clock echoed through the house. She paused and counted. 1, 2, 3. 3 in the afternoon. The arrow was any minute. I loved the fact that she counted. I know that sounds so silly. I know that's so stupid. But
it's okay. I actually struggled with that a lot.
The counting, I was like, I'm hooked. Okay, fine.
Well, that's good. No, I'm glad that you enjoyed it because like I went back and forth on it for so long. So it's like it's strange for me because it's like I never thought that like I would actually talk to someone else who enjoyed it like as a story, because when I was writing it, I was like, oh no one's ever going to read this. So it's like it's great that I hooked you from the first. Like that's really amazing for me. Like I'm going to gush and fangirl over you, honestly.
No, I mean it's really cool because the first page is the most important page.
Yeah.
It's if you don't catch people on your first page, then you're not doing your job right. And I think about that a lot. Like when I read the first chapter of my book, the most polished one, and more so the first paragraph. And I remember like one of my favorite authors in terms of like starting paragraphs is J.D. Salinger. because he's always so doom and gloom and like so existentialist, but he always grabs my attention on the first paragraph. I can't.
Yeah.
I read him and I'm like, okay, fine, I'm in. And so
Like I
doing
actually spend more time on like the first sentence and like the last sentence. So like I like to bookend my stories. So like those are the ones that I'm like, okay, I have to get these right because I know that like as soon as you open up a page, like you really do, you need that, that desperate hook. But there's so many different ways to do it, of course. But
exactly.
it's just nice to know.
And the last sentence, yeah, I think that's, not disappointing your reader after going through all that journey.
Yeah, especially like with a romance, like you need to have that like happily ever after, and it's like people want to make sure that it's earned. So that was really fun for me to kind of explore.
You scared me there for a second. I'm not gonna spoil it for anyone, but there was a point in her book when I was like, if this lady like doesn't do what I want her to do, she exceeded my expectations. But there was a moment where I even messaged her like, I'm at 81%. If word of fucking God.
She's like, if anything happens to these characters, I'm out.
So
It's
that
good. No, that's good too because like you really do like I really wonder sometimes but like I'm flabbergasted that you had such a response and like it wasn't weird at all. I was like, hey, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. My phone's going off. What's going on here? And I was like, oh, I'm making someone miserable tomorrow morning.
you were. You were. I was actually preparing for a medical operation that I had the
Oh,
next morning, and I couldn't sleep. I was having an awful time, actually. I was having a really, really bad time. And your book pulled me through the whole thing. And I guess, in a way, I was blessed to have such a great companion because I was miserable.
you're gonna make me cry.
It was good to have, and I'm glad that I was reading that at the time because it was distracting me from all the crap that I was dealing with at the
No,
time.
and that's fantastic. Like so, like when I think I made a post the other day about like successes that I've had as an indie author, and it's like that's another one right there. Is like okay, I was able to like bring comfort to a complete stranger, and like that really just like I said, I'm just gonna gush about you for like however long.
Well, we have our streak to keep up, so
Yeah, exactly.
we'll have time.
Hmm.
Um, so I remember talking to you about an idea I had for a YouTube channel that I'm working on. The YouTube channel is made, the branding is done. I just need to kind of organize how the visuals are going to be. But in that pursuit, I started outlining what it would look like. So I'm not going to tell you what the structure is. I'm just going to go through it and talk about you and your book, and I'll be taking notes. So, but if you were wondering why it might be a little rigid, that's why.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, yeah. This is your show. I'm just here for it.
So obviously we've talked a little bit about your book, especially the fact that I've read it and I liked it so much. But let me give an introduction to you. You are what's the official term? Is it Regency? Or
Yeah, so I'm a Regency romance writer, well, author, I guess one could say now.
yeah, you can say author now because
Hmm.
you're
Yeah,
published.
it's so weird because I'm never like for so long like I was so afraid of calling myself an author. I was like, no, 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 I'm just a writer. And even like when I got ready to publish, I was like, okay, I'm not an author yet. But then I bought like my author copies, and I was like, well, who else's are they if they're not mine?
I'm
So I was like, okay,
officially.
now I'm an author like officially. And then I let my dad like change his name in like our group chat to like dad of an author. Like he was waiting for a long time. So
Oh, that is so sweet.
mhm.
That is so nice of him to be so supportive. So okay, so you write Regency romance. You're really good at it. Your characters are really compelling, and your book is named "Memories of You," which is a very interesting title. Why did you call it that? And I've asked you this
So
before, but I want to hear it again.
So memories are like a really big theme in my book. So almost all of my characters are suffering from some sort of grief. So like they're all like more or less haunted by their memories. And of course, Seth, like he has, one of the best memories. He's pretty much good at, anything that he sets his mind to. But even him, like he's cursed by his memories too. Like they're not like good. So I guess like more along the lines of like everyone's dealing with it, and then like towards the end, like as they go through their entire love story, and then they get to that point where they're like really reconciling like both Seth's past and their future together, and it's like okay, well, even if all I have is my memories, like it'll be enough, that type of thing. So I don't know, like it was just a huge overarching theme. I know a lot of Regency authors go with something a little bit different, like the Duke who loved me and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like everyone loves a Duke, but I wanted to set myself apart a little bit, and that's why I didn't want to do like the cinch cover because it's like Fabio on the corner and like the woman like with the ripped bodice and stuff. Like I wanted to be a little bit different. Um, so
Showing
I kind of went with something different. Yeah, yeah.
showing it so you know what she's talking about. And I really like your cover because it doesn't, it says a lot, but it doesn't say that much in the sense of like it just gives you like overall vibes. But it didn't in any way distract me from your description. What is your book about?
Oh
Truly. What is
no.
the
Oh
theme
no.
of
That's
your
like the
book?
word. That's like my worst nightmare
I
question.
know
What
I
is
hate
it
when people
about?
ask me that.
So I've been working on like my elevator pitch, and so I'm going to try it out here. Why not? But it's basically about a low-born former soldier that falls in love with a high-class lady that he can't have. So she needs to get married because her family is destitute. He needs to, well, he's not really interested in marriage. Like, that's not really his thing. But for like freedom in the life that he wants, he needs money. So they both kind of have like the same goal. So they both need to win this rifle invention contest in order to like actually like secure their futures. So they have a mutual goal up to a certain point. Um, and then it all kind of just goes to shit as it does in any romance.
In
Um,
it
but yeah,
plots.
it's their love story.
Nice. So, okay, so now I know what your book is about, but what inspired it?
Oh goodness. So I feel like it just kind of like came out of me, like, because I had it's hard to say what inspired me to write it because it was just like a drive. Like, so for my entire life, I've wanted to write a book. Like, I've been telling everyone I would do it. And like, I went through kind of like a dark period of my life where I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I had to make one. And that's one of the ones, like, that's one of my lights at the end of the tunnel is, like I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Like I'm just going to sit down. I'm going to write the book. And that's what inspired me to do it. And I just kind of found the story along the way. Like my story process is really intuitive. Like I kind of play around with an idea until something seems right. So it's hard to say like because it's even now like it's so strange to say that anything inspired it at all. Like it just kind of came out of me like from nowhere.
Okay, so you sat down, you were like, okay, I'm gonna write a book. And you just
Yep.
sat down and you channeled this story that needed to
It
be
took a lot of time, and it wasn't like very straightforward either. Like so the first my first two drafts were like they were garbage, like absolute, like they were not worth anything at all. And I think I kept maybe 15 scenes. So more than anything, I kept like the world. So like you have Earl Boulderwood's mansion, and that's from the first two drafts because I was like, okay, cool, I like this space, and then I just made everything fit into it after that.
Okay.
Hmm.
So was there like a character that was the champion of your story that was like the character that was like, please don't leave me, please don't forget me?
Matthew, actually, like Matthew's my favorite
Matthew.
character. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So I basically built the entire story around Matthew. So Seth and like, so I knew that I wanted to write like a brother's best friend type of thing.
Okay.
So Matthew was kind of like integral, like he's like the cornerstone of the story, like the whole arc anyway. He's the patriarch of the family. So I needed a space for him to kind of play. So more than anything, like it really is Matthew that holds my book together, even though it's about Seth and Cassandra.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah. Hold on one second. You can, yeah, yeah. You can go behind me. My husband is he got a pizza. So he's like
Hey, husband.
that's him, that's Joey. That's the man that inspired 400,000 words and only
Yes,
109 of them weren't trash.
absolutely. Let me see. I remember reading the dedication.
Yeah, and he likes pineapples on pizza, so like if you
It's
wanted to
okay.
start that argument.
It's okay. We don't we
We
because
listen and we don't judge.
we listen and we don't judge. We're writers. We can't afford to yeah, you know what it
Yeah.
says to me? It says to me that we can take him anywhere. If he'll put
Hmm.
pineapples on pizza, he'll eat wherever we take him. So that's a good.
Yeah. No, that's true too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so in that regards, your dedication was beautiful. I loved it a lot. I think there's so much that you learn about an author when you read a dedication, right? You can learn about where their headspace are, what their support system look like. I don't know. For me, dedications are crucial, and I think the one for your husband was really sweet. It says, "For my husband, for patiently enduring endless hours of conversation about people who don't exist," which
Yeah.
makes me laugh all day, every day, and especially before coffee. Thank you for your constant encouragement and support. I could write a billion words and none could describe the love I have for you.
It sounds so cheesy.
It's
But like he's
lovely.
been rewarded for his labors by doing it again at least twice. So yeah, yeah. He's good. He's a good sport. He's really super supportive.
No, I think that's lovely. And I think that, it's really important to have people around you that
Yeah.
don't judge you for what you're doing. Because if you really think about it, writing a book is insane. Like,
It is. It really is.
it's insanity.
And it's hard. It's such a hard thing. And so it's like when other people kind of like push against you, it makes it even that much harder. Like I had so many people supporting me along the way. Like anytime I finished a chapter in my third draft, I would have a piece of chocolate. So there was like my dad's girlfriend, like, because my mother passed. So my dad is, he's moving on. Um, but she would send me a picture of a chocolate every single time I finished a chapter. I'd send her one, so we'd be like, "Cheers," and that's what the whole chocolate toasting cheerleaders thing in there is for, because it's like it really is so wonderful when you have people being like, "Yeah, you go," like running. It's like running a marathon. Like you're insane to want to do something like that, but you
Absolutely.
definitely need support.
Absolutely. Funny that you say that because today I started training for a marathon and I am so sore and I am so tired. And so
Yeah,
yes,
you're
it is,
crazy. I would
it is
never.
very much like training for a marathon, I would say. And I loved, there's a lot of beautiful dedications in here, but I have to say my favorite was your sister. And I
Oh yeah.
messaged you about it. Her sister, it reads, "For my sister who doesn't read medieval books," which
Yeah,
is
that's exactly what she said. So listen, listen, listen. Okay, so next one. So I gave her an advanced copy of the book, and she was like, "Yeah, I love your cover. It's like ancient, antique, vintage." Or she was looking for the word vintage, but she was like old. It looks really, really old. So I'm putting that in the next one for my sister, who said that my book looks antique
amazing.
and really, really old.
That that's funny because it is true. I have a sibling and we have things in common, but we have different sensibilities, and sometimes it hurts a little because siblings are not as supportive as maybe we want them to be, but it means the world when they finally are supportive.
Yeah.
You do
And
something.
like I couldn't get her to read it for the longest time, but then like as soon as she had it in her hand, she read it in like a day and a half. Like she didn't put it down. So I was like, if you had just listened to me, like we could have been done with this a long time ago. But
Yeah.
that was still nice too. I was like, okay, you know, like
Oh,
at least one person likes it.
that must have felt amazing. I mean, if my brother read my book, I would feel so flattered because I don't think he's ever read a full book. He's not that
Yeah.
kind of guy.
And it's been ages since she's read a book. Like I don't think she's done it since high school. She says 5 years, but I've been counting.
I've been counting. So, this question I've asked you a million times, and this is basically most of our conversations. But for the sake of the live, what is your process, lady? What is your crazy, crazy process?
Okay. So I can actually go into this one a lot. And like I kind of have like I'll have moments where I'm just processing. So like if I just need a second, like then just wait because it'll load eventually. But I'm still kind of learning my process. But what it's looking like this time around is that I wrote down all of my thoughts of everything that the story could be. So I really took like the brainstorm to heart and I did all of that on a notebook. I've really been playing around with like all of the things that it could be. And I was actually stuck between about four different plots. So I mess with that on like the macro level first, and then I'll expand from there. So I'll have the beginning, the middle, and the end, and then I'll fill in the blanks as I go. So that's process number one is the notebook of all the different things it could be. After that, I'll plug it into structure. Um, and I actually use a mixture of Save the Cat and Romancing the Beat. I have sent it to you. Um, And I'm really trying to do that a little bit better this time than I did last time, because last time I just wrote, I didn't have any plan at all. And then plugging that all into structure was really difficult for me. So I'm really trying to do it differently this time by having that structure there already. And if I do it on like this big macro scale where it's like, okay, cool, like basically like a kid telling a story about a cool rock, it's like, okay, first they're going to go here, and then they're going to go to the store, and then they're going to run into this person that they don't like, and then eventually they're going to take the rock home. You see, I'm not going to make a lot of sense because my brain process is so messy. So when I say that it's messy, like this is only like the tip of the iceberg. Um, and then what I'll do is I'll kind of see how it flows. So if it flows in a story that seems right to me, like my whole process is very intuitive. And that's why I'm doing it on such a large scale, because if it doesn't seem right to me, I've wasted hours or days or weeks on a plot line that just doesn't work. So once I've got it hammered down, then I'll completely rewrite it from start to finish. So I'll just more or less kind of like plug it in on these blocks. It's like putting a puzzle together with 2,000 pieces, but only 1,000 pieces make a picture.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really hard to describe. Like I said, I'm probably just like confusing everybody. And then I'll rewrite it from start to finish in my third draft. And that for me, the last time ended up being 120,000 words. So I had to cut as close to, or I had to get as close to 100,000 words as I wanted, or as I could anyway. See, I'm getting all like tripping over myself, so just hang on. But see, just give me a second.
Oh no, you're good.
And then I'll do a line edit. Sorry. So I'll cut as much as I can because I'm an overwriter, not an underwriter.
Yes.
And then I'll do a line edit at the end and I'll remove a whole bunch of stuff. But it's really, I don't like the typical drafts, like that doesn't really work for me. Like I'll call a draft good whenever I'm like, okay, this is more or less complete. So my brain dump or my notebook is like a 0 draft, and that's already done. So I'm already moving on to the next draft, which is my computer.
Sure. No, I
I feel like I
really,
might have confused you. So if there's any part of that that's unclear, which I'm sure all of it was, feel free to ask.
no, it makes sense. The way, so you showed me the Romancing the Beat, and you showed me about, so obviously everyone knows about Save the Cat, right?
Yeah, save the cat.
So what I did is based on this that you've just shared, across thousands of texts, or at least hundreds of texts. Yeah, so I combined both of them. So I did that. I word vomit on notebook as well, which it seems we share in common. And I've written, I think I'm at 20 notebooks now, which is crazy. And so I wrote it all chronologically, and now I'm inputting it. I transcribe it in my computer when I'm not inspired, when it's more convenient to transcribe than to write. And then now I am doing the structure based on both Romancing the Beat and Save the Cat. Kind of, I combine them, but I am leaning more into the 4-act structure versus the 3-act structure.
I use a 4-act.
It just feels a little like more realistic. Like I think we both share that we're doing reels, like stories that are, mine is a little bit more fantastical than yours, but they all are set in a real setting where
Yeah,
like,
more often. I think it's more authentic to the human experience.
agreed. And so now that I did that, when you say you rewrote the whole thing, yeah, I can see that being a thing because I might have to rewrite the whole thing.
And I wouldn't look at it like it's a negative thing, because think of just how much you've learned like about writing through this entire process. And if you're like picking up on like small things like sentence structure or organization or anything like that, like it's doing a rewrite after your first draft or your second draft after you fit it into that structure. I wouldn't look at it like a chore, because it's more or less like you have an open book test, like
Yeah.
you have all of these plot points, you have all of these things. So all you have to do really is fill in like your description, internal monologue, or whatever you're missing. And for me, that was easier to do in my rewrite. But for my final draft, like I didn't have to rewrite it at all. I was just, taking things, rewording things here and there. But the further that you go along in the process, like the less rewriting that you have to do. I wouldn't look at it like a negative thing at all, though. Like I think that every word is practice, and that's just more practice.
No, for sure. And I guess the it's just intimidating, I guess, when
Of
you
course it
like.
is. Yeah. The entire process of writing a book is terrifying. Like just because I've done it once does not mean that I am an expert. And I do this thing called like I call it the dance, where like I have my laptop like set on the kitchen table because this is my office. Welcome to my office. And I will dance around it. I will clean the house. I'll be like, ooh, that thing is I'm more afraid of it than it is of me, or
Yeah,
whichever. But there's a lot of fear for sure.
100%. No, yeah,
You just get over it. Like you're just like, you know what, just do it anyway. So
110 ways to procrastinate.
mhm, yeah. But I think that like if you're afraid of it a little bit, that just means that that you have a stake in the game. So, but
Yeah,
that's just part of it too. Like you're just going to be afraid. Just do it anyway.
yeah, no, yeah, and for me, it's about like characters. Like I
Hmm.
get really protective over my characters to the
No.
point where where
Characters are food, not friends.
I'm like, oh, I can't do wrong by you. Like if I write this shitty book and you're in it, I don't know. I guess they become alive after a while. They become,
So during my third draft, like that's my real draft, I asked the question, how can I make these characters have the worst day possible? And I don't step away from the computer until I've answered that question.
what?
Nobody wants to read a story where everything good happens all the time. Even
Oh
you were
no.
stuck to the edge of your seat because you were
Yes.
like, oh man, bad stuff's happening to these characters. That's where you start like really going into craft and like story structure. But uh, that's all wording too. You'll get it. Yeah, yeah.
No, it'll happen, I'm sure. Especially if I have such a great mentor like you holding my hand through the day.
And I don't mind that either because like I didn't have anyone there to hold my hand. Like and I cried a lot. So it's like my husband was incredibly supportive. My dad was very supportive. And like every time I cried, they were just like, hey, you can do this. Maybe you need to take a break. But you can do this. And if I can be that person, then absolutely. And it's knowledge that it's kind of a refresher for me every time I tell you this type of stuff. So it really is helpful for both of us.
Nice. No, I appreciate that because I feel like we've talked about this uh ad nauseum almost.
Yeah, no worries. It's hard. Writing a book is hard.
It's
And
maddening.
especially there's so much to learn all the time. Like I don't know anything. Like all I know is what that I don't know enough.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a good place to be. Yeah, it's a humble place to be, and it keeps you hungry and looking for ways to become better every time. So I don't think that's a bad place to be either. Okay, so in that regards, though, you mentioned crying, you mentioned support system, you mentioned all these traumatic events while you're
I
writing
cry
it.
a lot. I'm a big baby. I
What
cry a lot.
what was the hardest moment though? What was the moment where you almost broke?
Okay, my dark night of the soul, so to
Your dark
speak.
night of the soul.
After my second draft.
Okay.
So I had written a first draft. It was awful. It was terrible. Um, and so I plugged that all into a story structure. And after that, it was just kind of like fill in the blanks. Um, and I couldn't get to the end of it. Like, so, like when you were having a hard time the other day about getting to the end of your book, like, because you weren't sure how you were going to do it,
Hmm.
that was me. Like, I ended up throwing out my entire third act. But that was when I was like, you know what, maybe I don't have what it takes to do this. Like maybe this is just too hard.
Oh my god.
Um, and I had written 90,000 words at that point.
Hmm.
Um, and I didn't like any of them. I was like, this is terrible. Like I had this whole other plot, like where with like espionage and everything. Like I'm telling you, it was bad. And after that, I was like, you know what, maybe I don't have what it takes. And I was outside. I was crying to my dad the whole time. But I took some time away from it. I printed it all out. So you really do have to take time between each drafts. Like you need at least a week or two. But then when I looked at it, I was like, okay, not all of this is bad. Some of this is salvageable. But I almost did. I almost quit for sure.
So what do you want to talk about self-conscious? That piqued my interest.
So your so your brain works in a very interesting way. So a lot of your creativity comes from your subconscious. So that's why I kind of do things like as a macro to micro scale. Like I do things on the biggest way possible because your subconscious, like you ever like go about your day and you're just like, oh, that is how, I will be able to write this scene that way. Like it always happens to me when I'm doing the dishes or like when I'm in the shower, always when my hands are wet, where it's like, eureka. This is the answer to all of my prayers. Um, but that's your subconscious working in the background. So you kind of have to feed that a little bit. Like, so if you're listening to playlists or something that really gets you going, um, but almost all of your story is coming from your subconscious. So when your characters are taking over, so to speak, it's your subconscious that has seen it in a movie or has made some sort of connection. Like your dreams don't really make sense, you know? So that's what's going on in the background when your characters are like, no, 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 I have it here. Your subconscious is like, it's really, you're getting into a flow state. You don't plan for it.
I don't plan for it. I'm writing and it just like comes out of me. Like it just like bleeds on the page and I'm like, oh, okay, we're doing that. Fine.
I always hear it out. Like, so there's a character, like the first character that is not like Seth and Cassandra to get a POV scene. I wasn't planning on that at all. Like that just happened. Like I just sat down and I was like, oh, I was mid sentence where it was like a hostile takeover, but I think it actually made my story better.
Yeah.
So I always hear them out. I'm always like, okay, cool. What do you have to say?
Yeah.
Because the ego likes to get in the way of creativity.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And in that sense, I am blessed with my architecture life, right? My
Hmm.
profession, because when you go to architecture school, one of the first things that you kind of have to let go is ego, and you have to be very comfortable with criticism, and people are very rude and mean. They're
Yeah.
like, some professors break your stuff in front of you and say that it's garbage. And so for a very long time, that's why like when I ask feedback, I'm like, just destroy me. Like I don't care.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah, but you can get feedback, especially in the creative realm. Like you can get feedback without someone telling you, like, "Oh, this is garbage," Because I'm like a really big proponent of like not beating yourself up over something that's already hard. Um,
yeah,
so like, there's nice ways to say everything.
absolutely.
Not necessarily nice either, because it's not like um, toxic positivity or anything. Like everything can be said better.
No, I agree. And there's definitely ways to say things, and but I definitely appreciate honest, constructive criticism. If something doesn't work, just say it is. So
Hmm.
it's so discouraging when someone reads a part of your book or your book and says, "Oh yeah, it was nice." And it's like, "Okay,
Yeah.
great."
A lot of times too, like you really have to kind of be, and this is something that I'm learning myself, but you kind of have to like separate your friends and your family with your readers, because they're really not your readers. Like they're not interested in that,
Nope.
which is like as painful as that is up front. Like because I sent, like I think that if you write a book, you find out who your friends are really quick. Um, and I sent my manuscript, like, and I shouldn't have too, because it was like when I just started, I was like, "Tell me how you think," and they were like, "Yeah, it's fine." It was like it's garbage. But everyone's too nice to tell you that it sucks. Um,
Yeah.
but if you look outside of that for like beta readers or alpha readers, or however you say, um, then you can get that constructive feedback, but you're not going to get it from the people in your immediate circle. They're not going to tell you.
No, and that's part of like what brought me here to TikTok, is that exact feeling of isolation, of like
Hmm.
not only writing a book, it's already isolating enough, but
It's hard.
it's hard. And if you don't have writer friends in your immediate vicinity or in your friend group, which I am blessed, one of my best friends, he's a writer, and he's
Hmm.
also going through the publishing journey. He's a completely different genre. He's a political science major. His vibe is so different from mine.
But it doesn't matter. It
But it
doesn't.
doesn't matter. And I told him like, I want you to destroy my manuscript. And he was like, did you think I was gonna do anything different? And that's
Well, yeah, that's good. Yeah, it doesn't do you any sort of service, like, the platitudes or anything.
no. And so, but even still, I think TikTok is a wonderful resource for more people to like do that for you, because I feel like everyone here is hungry and thirsty to make community. And
Hmm.
you read my book, I read you read my book, I read your book, kind of the dynamic.
Yeah, I'm doing that with another historical romance author as well. I made a video about it, Tanisha. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, and we did an author swap basically, and then she ended up giving me all four of her books, and I was like, no, I'm not worthy. Make me buy the next one, because she was the first. She was the first stranger that bought my book, and that was because of TikTok. Yeah, so
Nice.
it's like it's great being able to like find that community for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I need to read her books because now you've awakened something in me.
So her books are a little spicy.
Oh, no,
She's
you're
not
fine.
watching, so I can be like, I can be candid. No, and even then, I can be candid with her. Like, she is really fantastic. Like, I think you guys would get along as well. But she writes a little bit darker, and I normally don't go like too far dark.
Mhm.
But if you're looking for something a little darker, and like her second book is like really spicy, like really spicy. She's like, yeah, I didn't think it was that bad. I was like, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. But I was like, yeah,
It's
it's a little bit spicy. So
okay.
if that's your thing, absolutely. Like, and her writing is good too. Like, they're 60,000 words, so they're pretty short. Like, you can go through them pretty quick.
Okay, that's good. Yeah,
Hmm.
no, we listen and we don't judge. I think I've established to everyone that I'll read anything if it's well written and doesn't
Hmm.
have you know, a plethora of typos and editing faux pas. I can't get past it.
Yeah.
And still, I finished a couple of books that are like that. And what I've learned from this indie author community and why I want to work with indie authors almost exclusively is because I feel like indie authors have a lot of creativity more so than some of the stuff in Hollywood and some of the things that like we're spoon fed by you know
So I think I'd say that we have just about the same amount of creativity, but not the same financial support. Um,
okay.
but it's and a lot of those things too is like the popular books are more built to market, like they're easily digestible. And I think with indie authors, you can kind of go a little bit off the beaten path with that. So I don't know. I think I might have just taken over there for no apparent reason. But I think that like creative wise, we're probably just about the same, but I think we have a little bit more creative freedom than a
Yeah,
traditionally published person.
fair. That's a fair statement, and I think you're right. I think we're all equally creative. I'm not trying to bash.
No, 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 no. I didn't consider it that. Sorry.
No, you're good. It's more about like, yeah, obviously we have more freedom, and I started this journey thinking I wanted to traditionally publish. That was my goal, and so but meeting all of y'all and seeing your journeys and seeing how you get more freedom and it's not even about the money. It's about the
Yeah,
freedom.
no, it's really not. Hmm.
It's about being able to do whatever you want and tell the story the way that you want to, and the that you control the timing and you control the marketing in a more intimate kind of way. And I mean, there's so many authors, like for example, I don't know if you've read Quicksilver, um
No, I haven't.
romanticy.
I've heard things, but I haven't actually read it.
The audiobook is
I'm
amazing
gonna write it down.
because the voice actor is hot. I mean, I don't know physically. I don't think I've Googled him, but his voice is hot, is what I'm trying to say. The first four chapters are a little bit of a dredge because you're like the main character is a little whiny, but after he comes out, it's fine. You're into it. You're into it. You're into it.
So that was my thing when I was writing, and that the first four chapters of my book were really too slow.
Hmm.
So I wanted your opinion on that, on whether or not, because it's good for me going forward,
Sure.
on whether or not like you thought everything in Lincolnshire was slow or not.
So
I know the second chapter is like really slow, but it's like world building.
yeah,
Um,
I
mhm.
was gonna say. So I
Like I
mean,
hated the second chapter and the fifth chapter more than any other chapters in the entire book. I hated them so much.
no, I get that. I have a couple of chapters that I'm not a fan of too, but I will say your chapters are short, which I
No
love.
way.
Yes, yes, because chapter four is what? Four. Hold on.
Chapter four is short, but all the rest of my chapters, like as I was writing them, they were at least 10 pages. I was like, no.
But that's short to me because I've
Okay.
I've read a lot of classics in my lifetime, and I've read a lot of different types of books, and I like a small chapter. I like to be like immersed in this crazy situation and then kicked out and like left on a cliffhanger. In that
Yeah.
sense, I like that type of pacing, and I mean, it's obvious. The first four chapters of a book is world building. It's really
Mhm.
hard to get away from that because how the hell are you supposed to know what's happening?
Yeah, exactly. Especially in like a historical romance too. And I made a whole bunch of different rules that don't really apply. Like I took a lot of creativity, like creative licenses with the technology of the time period.
Yes, you did.
So
Wonderful.
it took a little bit just to explain like the differences.
But even still, I mean, you have the tree scene, which I adore.
I was so unsure about that too.
Okay, this is the book we're talking about. I feel like I haven't showed it in a while, so if you're new here or just tuned in, this is the book we're talking about. The lady right here on the other side of the screen wrote it. And okay, so love the tree scene. What? I loved it. And the way that, looking back, right, Matthew maneuvers that situation like the bastard.
Oh yeah, Matthew's a
What?
total mastermind. Oh yeah, he's really so as far as like the MBTI, he's an ENTJ, so that's the commander.
Mhm.
So yeah. He's one to watch out for sure.
Yeah. And at the beginning, like when the trees, and this is not a spoiler because it's like literally the first couple of pages.
Yeah, and you can find it on Amazon too. Like so you can actually read like all the way up to like the middle of chapter 5 on
Okay,
Amazon. I was like, oh wow.
that's
That's why I
good.
was like, oh, I should have done this a little bit better if this is a sample.
No, but I think it's good because first of all, I love the scene at the bench before they leave for Boulderwood with the
Hmm.
three siblings. I think that was
Yes.
really lovely as a
Hmm.
dynamic because I feel like if we didn't have that scene,
It
even if
sets the stakes. Hmm.
no, and it sets for me, it just really framed Cassandra's life. Like I just wouldn't have understood her and everything that came afterward if we didn't have that dynamic, if we didn't have that sweet moment with the with Matthew and the I forgot the word for the thing she's holding that she wraps around herself.
It's a
Shit.
blanket.
The blanket, thank you. Sorry, I
It's
keep
okay. I
having
have a hard time coming up with the word cabinet. So
there you go. Yeah, blanket. Sorry, I was in Spanish.
yeah.
And I was like, we're not doing Spanish. We're not doing Spanish. Switch. So yeah, the blanket that was really sweet. The fact that she does that whenever she can't sleep. Like it's just a lot of things that justified things that happened later. That if I didn't have that context, then how would I enjoy it? So no, I don't think they were slow. They were slow, but not in like a bad way. They were slow in
Kind of like easing you into it then.
the day before you leave for a trip and you're just like at your house cleaning and doing your luggage and like running around like a crazy person trying to make sure you don't forget anything.
Hmm.
It's slow like that.
Yeah.
Chaotic.
Good. I was going for chaos in the first scene. But the siblings at the bench, like in, the midnight talk is what it was labeled as in my outline. Um, like that one has like a really like special place in my heart. I feel like that's one of the best things I've ever written. That and the Dark Night of the Soul, where another character kind of takes over the POV, that little section.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, those are for me, those are my two favorite scenes in the entire book.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
Oh, let me see. What are my favorite scenes of the book? I do love a good like when he makes the bet and they're there like going through the list. I love the pettiness. I love like it gives so the like high society like
Yeah.
bullshittery vibes that is required of a Regency novel.
That's
And
actually that's my little sister's favorite scene too, is like right after that, like the chapter after the list where it's Seth and Bishop. Like my little sister loves it. Like she was gushing about it. I was like, that was one of my harder ones to write too.
yeah,
So
no, and you made him so hateful. Oh my god, it's so I hate it. I about myself. If I hate a character, I don't remember their names. I
Mhm.
can't. Even if I read it 17 times on the same page, my brain is just like, we're not wasting headspace on that name. So I kept trying to talk to you about him, but I was like, what's his name? I don't even care. Like, I
Oh,
just hate him
that's
so
good. No,
much.
that's good. I'm glad that because he's not like a villain, but he's an antagonist.
For sure.
So I'm glad that came out really well. Like, because there's these characters that you just love to hate them. So even if like you hate to hate him, that's fine. You had an emotional response. I'm good with that.
Absolutely. And I mean, I love that you did really well the change of scenery. Like, I could totally in the page perceive the difference between their home, Boulderwood, and then when they went to the city. Like, it feels
Yeah.
easier. If you did a really good job, I think, at setting.
Yeah.
I,
Thanks.
I can remember the beats and the feelings and the
Hmm.
characters and the vibes based on where they are
Yeah.
in the country. So that was really, really, really good. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
We talked about the hardest moment. But now let's talk about the most rewarding moment of your journey.
Holding my book, holding my proof. Because until it's tangible, you can take it away, basically. So until I actually had the print in my hands, it was still just an idea. Like even if I had printed it out before, but like having it in my hands is like probably the coolest thing. Like, but there's a lot of them. There's a lot of like really good moments since that.
No, I can imagine that would be a highlight for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. That sounds great. No, absolutely.
And
Okay, but
then like, so go ahead.
oh,
Sorry.
no,
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 no.
go
And
ahead.
I just wanted to mention one too, because it's like, that's like, like top tier type stuff. So one of my ARC readers, she finished it in a day and a half, and she sent me this little message that was like, are you doing Matthew's book next? And I was like, yes, you have fallen right for my trap.
I
So that
mean,
was my second one that I just wanted to share too.
no, absolutely. And
Mhm.
honestly, Matthew is we're due Matthew. And if you obviously if
Yeah.
you're here and you haven't read any of her books, then obviously you're missing out. But I feel like everyone will fall in love. We
Yeah, I hope so. I am working on Matthew's book right now. I'm actually working on Matthew and Caroline's book at the same time because Caroline's book is coming to me a little bit easier. Like, I kind of wish that I could do that first if I hadn't already set up Matthew's in the epilogue. Um, but yeah, for sure. Like, their stories are just so much fun. Caroline's in particular, like, I'm totally in love with it. But it's probably good that I wait to tell her story once I have a little bit more experience because hers is a little darker.
oh
Hmm.
well,
Yeah,
I
that's
can
all I'll say.
imagine. I mean, she's so spicy, and she's a spicy person in general. Not like spicy, like sexually spicy, but she's just a very
Yeah,
sassy.
she's sassy. Uh-huh. Yeah, she's sassy. Yeah, she's got, bratty little sister energy.
Yes, she does. And
Mhm.
I don't know what I'm an older sister. Are you an older sister or a younger sister?
So I am an older sister. I have a twin sister, I have a younger sister, and I actually do have an older sister, but we are no contact. Family relations are a little strange. But so I'm an oldest middle child.
Okay, fair
Hmm.
enough. So yeah, I'm an older child, and for me, sibling dynamics are very. It's really hard to find a family that deviates from sibling dynamics in like a
Hmm.
tropey kind of way. And so when I read books, always the middle child. I don't know why. The little child, the littlest, is always bratty because you can't avoid it. You just
You
can't.
can't. And it's and if you think about it at a psychological type of
Yeah,
thing, like the middle child like more or less does whatever they want, but like the baby, like that's why they're bratty is because
yeah.
they're like, "Oh no, you can do no wrong," where it's like the first child is like drowning. It's
No,
like someone
the
help me
first
please.
the first child gets all the mistakes and has
Hmm.
to like deal with them, and then the baby child is like, but there's also like a level of neglect to the baby child that I think is what makes them so
Yeah.
like not outgoing, but like they look for their own answers.
Hmm.
They're more.
Caroline does quite literally look for her own answers.
Exactly. So no, it
Mhm.
tracks, and I really love that. I love a bratty younger
Yeah.
sibling.
Caroline's story is going to be so much fun. Like I want to talk to you about it more. But like it's really hard like for me to like keep a lid on it. Like my little sister doesn't want me to tell her anything. But like she's a little bratty too. Like she was a
Oh
baby
yeah.
for sure. We called her Fanny Pack growing up because she was always attached to my mom's hip.
That is diabolical. I love that.
Mhm.
I wish I had known that when I was a kid because my brother was the same. I would have
Yeah.
called him fanny pack too, and it would have pissed him off so
Oh
much.
yeah, of course. That's why we did it for sure.
Okay, so who is your favorite character? It's looking like you said Matthew,
Yeah.
but if not Matthew, who?
If not Matthew, um, probably Adrian. Like I really like I've got a soft spot for Adrian because like he kind of like say he did a hostile takeover. So and he's this dark and broody, like he's a step below a sociopath. So he's really fun for me as well.
Love a dark, broody man. I have to say that is my literary weakness. Um, I will not speak if it's my real weakness or not. I have to sit on that one. But
Yeah. It's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite character types. So I've got big plans for him too. Don't you worry. I'll probably branch out. Like after this one, we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
let's see. I have a section that I call it the difficult questions. In the future, when I start the show, I want like reader input if possible, or craft like different, like put you on the spot kind of questions.
Yeah.
So let me see. What can I do to put you on the spot?
Oh gosh, probably everything. Like I'm so awkward. I'm afraid already.
Let me see. Okay, I got one.
Okay. Okay, bring it on. Let's go.
Okay, so in her book, which I'm going to show again for the new people, this is her book. It came out
Yeah, Memories of You.
March 14, right? If I remember
March
correctly.
14th. Yeah.
So,
Yep. So I'm still a baby.
so she's still a baby, but a lot of people have read it. And every time I see a review of her book, it's glowing reviews. I think everyone's giving you 5 stars, including me,
Almost.
which is hard. I don't get 5 stars ever, 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 ever. So you're special. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I'm surprised that it's going so well, honestly. But yes.
okay. So in her book, there is a character called Lord Boulderwood.
Yes.
And he is a roller coaster of a character. I don't know how to feel about him yet, even though I finished the book. And I might start reading again.
There's a lot more to him than, and that's another thing too about almost all of my characters is there's a lot more to them than just the surface. Like Honora is another one like that.
Who?
Honora. So
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
God. Her. Yes.
She was so fun for me. She was so much fun.
Really?
Mhm.
It was, you know who she reminds me of? You've watched, we talked about this. This series starts with a B in Netflix. Bridgerton.
Yeah, like Cressida.
Like Cressida. She gives me Cressida vibes.
Yeah, a little bit. She was a little bit more severe in my mind, but yes.
I agree. I think Cressida is I mean she gets redeemed, I think, in the last, sorry if you haven't watched Bridgerton.
No. I'm current.
No, but I mean if anyone in here in the chat hasn't watched Bridgerton, then spoiler alert. Cressida gets a redeeming arc, I think, and it ends in a very, let's just say that I feel for her. And so it is Honora? Hold on.
That's how I pronounce it, but it's probably pronounced something different anywhere else. But she's one of my fun characters for me to play. Like I really want her to get a happy ending one day.
Yeah, I mean,
But that's
I don't know anything about what you're thinking, but for me, it's giving like if there's a book about her, there's gonna be infidelities and like process behind like labyrinth.
I love hearing your theories.
Like she's gonna be she's been such a good daughter that she's gonna be such a bad girl, and I'm here for it. Okay, I want her to be bad, and I want her to break all the rules, and I want her to.
She'll be fun. She'll be fun. That's so far down the road though, and that's even just like a twinkling of an idea. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I don't want to plan too far ahead. I want to get done with the Coopers first, and then kind of go from there.
No, you're building a really exciting world, and you have a lot of exciting characters. And I would totally read a prequel book of Lord Boulderwood because he is such an enigmatic character in his relationship with Seth. So here comes the difficult question. Why did you make Seth's life so freaking miserable?
I hadn't intended to in the first because so in like the first couple of drafts, Seth was actually rich. Like so he actually was, like more or less like he could have the Coopers all fixed out, but I didn't like that. I wanted them to be more on an equal footing, so I made him like flat broke. And like it's really like because you asked why I made Seth's life so hard, and I guess like the easy answer is because it's more interesting.
Okay.
Like it was more interesting. But the thing with Lord Boulderwood, like that just kind of evolved as I went, like because I didn't really plan out a lot of that. Like I knew that there was drama there, like I knew that there was past trauma there, but that just kind of played out the way it did.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know if that's a tough question because it was tough for me to answer, but it's not like a difficult one.
Sure.
It's just like my brain.
I'm just trying to like leverage like not getting spoilers because your book like has so many twists and turns that like when we get to the manor and he describes his room and you realize what that room means to him, that blew my freaking mind. I don't know if you had breadcrumbs in there and I'm just an idiot and didn't catch up.
There were a couple of breadcrumbs. There actually are. Like so when Cassandra is walking through, like, so there is actually a breadcrumb that I left there, and then I do kind of leave breadcrumbs as I go. So if you read it a second time, you can be like, oh, I see, you know. But I'm glad that for your first read you didn't,
I
like, you weren't
needed
looking
that.
for
I
them.
was like,
Mhm.
when I read that, I was like, wait, what? What
Yeah,
is
this is
happening?
my room. Hmm.
I like went back and read again, and I was like, I was in the Kindle, so I didn't have a physical book, but I was the equivalent of being like, wait, what? Like, excuse me, where does it say that?
Yeah, yeah.
So no, that was really cool. Um, I also did not expect him to know how to dance. That was
Hmm.
a pleasant surprise.
Oh yeah, yeah. So he knew everything. So that was like his, you know, he was raised as a gentleman. He just wasn't officially a gentleman.
No, and that came, that became, because I was wondering about that, right? You paint him as this very rugged, everyone makes the joke about the barn, like you're just a dude living in a barn and building, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
dilapidated
Yeah,
barn.
because they don't take him seriously at all because of that.
Yeah. And so I fell for it. And I was like how, he's a military man, but usually military in this time and even today actually, is usually a gateway to, if you're from a more humble beginnings, you go through the military so that you can, when you get out, you have some perks in
Yep.
societally, monetarily, et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
thought,
That's why I did it.
yeah, there you go. So I mean, and that's the vibe I was getting. But when I realized he was Mr. Boulder, Lord Boulderwood's, like,
Yeah, he was a ward, basically. Is
yes,
the more appropriate answer for people who haven't read the book is he was a ward.
yeah,
So like an adoptee.
an adoptee. And when I find out why he was adopted, that
Hmm.
also blindsided me. I don't know if you left the breadcrumbs. I
I
don't
did.
know.
I did. Of course I did.
I need to go back and read this book
Yeah,
because
yeah. No, no, I did. Hmm.
when that happened, I just threw my phone, my pillow.
That's good. That makes me happy. Because I don't like, so I don't want you to be able to see it's coming, like for in that way. Like I want to have a general feel of it. But as far as like the exact details, no. Like I'd rather you have that throw your phone moment. And that makes me happy too, because it's like, okay, cool. This is really beneficial for me, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I did not see it coming. That was really sweet. It redeemed him entirely. Not
Yeah.
entirely, not
Not
entirely.
entirely, not entirely, because there's still drama there. But
Yes.
that's every human emotion, or that's every human bond anyway. Like there's always going to be that, mm, especially between family.
Yeah, and he's, I'll always have a like, you didn't have to do all the crap that you did against him. Like, I don't know.
I wanted it to be about redemption. And that is another theme that like pretty much with a good majority of the characters, you really do get that.
Yeah, because let's talk about redemption, because that's a really good point. I think Cassandra, even though she is the main character and I like her, like I would have tea with her and go shopping with her. I'm always very honest with my friends, and I think she's a little superficial at the beginning. I think she's a little, like, I am a little mad at her at some points of the book. I'm like,
I know exactly when, because my alpha reader Linda, she I know exactly the moment where she was like, you know what, fuck Cassandra. Like
yes, I was so mad at her for like a couple of chapters. I was like, you bitch, like, you dumb, 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 dumb girl.
good, good. You had an emotional response. That makes me happy.
I did, and I hated her for a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? You get what you get.
Yeah. But
um,
she has motivations for doing it. Like she really does have pure motivations for being superficial, because her family is broke, like flat broke. And
I
especially
know.
like during that time frame, she really had to marry rich in order to like save the family. Even though like Matthew could have done it, but even then Matthew couldn't have either. That's a whole nother thing. Yeah,
Mm.
I won't go too much into book two.
um, yeah, but I just think she's but it's good. It's good. I don't like it when writers force me to love a first character,
Hmm.
or they try too hard. The main character has to be a little, hateful
Yeah,
and
they have to be flawed. Hmm.
yeah, they have to have flaws, and they have to have like something that makes them unlikable, and they have to be annoying, not too
Yeah,
annoying.
because that's how you get that character arc. So when you're first writing, you want to have a character that kind of sucks. And then you make them into this other character, and it's like, and throughout her entire journey, like she does become a little bit more open. She becomes more like in the moment and being like, you know what, screw everything, I'm here with you. So in order to get that, you have to have someone that's a little opposite of that to begin with.
No, that's a good point. And so I do think that you're in terms of your like theme of redemption, I think she gets redeemed. But I don't think you achieved that with Seth, because I fell in love with Seth the moment he pocketed the letter in the tree.
Uh-huh.
When he did that,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm in love with
I'm glad that Seth is coming out so well, because Seth didn't need a redemption arc. Like, Seth was fine. Like, he needed to forgive himself.
you. Hmm. No,
So, like, that's the only thing that Seth needed, because it's like he more or less, like, like you said, I gave Seth hell. Like, I put him through the ringer for sure.
you did.
But no, it's good that he's coming across so well. Like, um, yeah, he's just great. I love him. I love
But
torturing him.
But do you think maybe some readers, maybe I'm a little bit more lenient because I'm a little bit more morally gray, but do you think there's some readers that would find him doing that bit a little requirement of redemption? Because when she got mad, when she found out, I was like, okay, I didn't see it that way, but like it is a little heinous.
Hmm. Well, yeah, and especially like in the area where it's like she finds out about it, like he could have just come clean with her. So like that's all. That's a little different. But as far as like morally gray or anything, if someone has a problem with that, they're really not gonna like book two. Because I don't want to say that it's all morally gray, but like there are things that just happen by circumstance. So the thing with the bet, like that's just by circumstance. Seth doesn't even think of anything. And it's not even brought up again until that moment where it's like, oh no. I don't know. I think if anyone has a problem with it, like, mm, it's too late now.
No, but I mean, not like a problem with it, but like, do you think that would be the point of like applying a redemption theme to him? Like,
Mm,
not for me.
maybe, maybe, but I don't think so, because I honestly, like, as a writer, like, I don't think that he did anything wrong. I think that she was kind of blowing it out of proportion, but from her perspective as well, like, it is kind of shitty.
Yeah, and I think it's the not knowing. Like, no one wants to think that, like, everyone likes to have control over their life, and like feeling like things happen because of a bed can seem a little daunting
Yeah.
and like
Hmm.
intrusive in a way. So, anyway, I was just wondering what your thoughts were. That I'm obsessed with Seth. I love Seth. Anyone who made Seth's life miserable, I wanted to reach over and just punch him in the face.
Oh
So,
my goodness. Oh no. Leave it alone. I have glasses. You don't want to hit a girl with glasses.
no, not the author. I meant them.
Yeah.
There
No,
was
Seth
a
is great. He's a great character. But yeah, sorry.
there was a couple of times I wanted to strangle Lord Boulderwood. I'm not gonna
Hmm.
lie.
Yeah, that's good. He's an antagonist as well. Like,
Yeah,
so I only have one true villain, but I have a whole bunch of people that cause drama.
yeah. And I will say, Anthony, he's Lord Boulderwood's son, like his direct heir.
Adrian. Yes.
Adrian, sorry.
Adrian. Yes. No, no, it's okay. Yes, he's the director.
Okay, Adrian, which is ironic that I didn't remember because his name is so close to mine. But Adrian, I am excited about this because I feel like he kind of was in the background and wasn't really a big deal until he was. And
Yeah.
but that's canonically very to his character, which I think was very well done.
Thank you.
But at the
Yeah,
same
yeah, he's a
time,
shadow character for sure.
I'm obsessed with him, and I better see him more.
Yeah, no, no. So I'm already more or less planning a book for him. So what I might do after the Cooper universe is I might expand out with side characters. So what's great about writing in a shared universe is that you can choose literally every character that you have and write a spin-off or write their own book. And I may do that. It just really depends on how I'm feeling after the third book.
Sure.
But I do plan on giving Adrian a book, so don't you worry.
Now, in terms of book covers, so we have this one. We have new people, so
Hmm.
we'll show it again.
Yes.
So, are you going to keep the same kind of pastel
No.
composition, or is it?
No. So I want to keep that theme,
Mhm.
but my books are going to get a little progressively darker as I go.
Okay.
So it'll probably, like, I think Lisa Kleypas did it in like a midnight, dawn, afternoon, twilight type thing. So I'll probably do it in that regard. Like, I do like that whole, like, not showing their faces or anything like
Mhm.
that. Like, I like that pretty dress cover, so I might stick with that. But like the pastels, no. I'll actually go a little bit more vibrant for book two. And
Okay.
then for book three, like Caroline's book, she is a little bit, like, her book is a little bit darker. So I think for hers it'll probably be like a black background. So
Okay.
it'll be like a fade. That's my plan. I actually have to work with my cover artist for that because I do
Okay.
not invent them.
You have to look at how it looks in my shelf, right?
Mhm.
It's gonna be pastel, then it's gonna be a little bit more vibrant, and then it's gonna be dark, but it has to look.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm really gonna try.
I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I know, because and that's something that you think about too when you do covers, especially when you're doing a series, even if it is, just three, about how they will look in a shelf.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think you told me you haven't read it. So with Sarah J. Maas's book, like I absolutely
Yeah,
love.
I haven't read them, and that's because I have a I struggle with first person, and
I can't
that's why it's like
believe.
I'll have a hard time giving you feedback because I like first person for me is so it's hard for me to get into it. I feel like I'm one of those like you need to take me down to a shooting range and just put me out of my misery thing. But yeah, I struggle with it so much. So I tried to read it and I couldn't. I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah. Oh no. So okay, so I told you that while I was doing my structural exercises, I started writing like a baby novella, like just a
Mhm.
silly little novella. I think you're gonna love it actually. The premise is really fun. But today's about you, not about me. But I will
No, it's
say
okay.
I will say this. I tried to write in third person. I cannot do it. I cannot do it. I cannot do it. I cannot do it. It is so hard for me. I admire you so much because actually that is a great point that we should discuss. That how masterfully you do that. And let me tell you something. The only other author that I think is successful in third person, although there's a multi-tiered thought, is J.K. Rowling. And I know we have issues with her, but credit where credit is due. She is masterful in the way she writes her stories and the way she goes back and forth from the action and Harry's thoughts. Now, I think you do something even more special than she does because you actually jump from people's brains and we get to see other thoughts at the same time, and I can't put it into words. I'm not talented enough to put it into words, but it is so well done. I don't
Thank you.
feel like I have too much information. I don't feel deprived of information, and the mystery still lingers. It's just you do such a great job at it. I remember the moment when
It's so weird to have you quote my book at me. Like I'm okay with it. It's just like it's so strange.
it's just, let me see. There's a moment that I was like, holy shit. Because I think I messaged you because I was like, wow, I just skipped from three different brains and I don't have whiplash and I don't feel like it's too much. I know what everyone's thinking, like I'm not lost. I'm not,
Mhm.
you know, and but hold on, let me see. I think I found it. It's the one of them. There's a couple, but there is the library scene where she's reading the book and eventually when Matthew comes in she's reading it upside down. Which I fucking love. That she's just like I love that. But anyway, that's really well done because she knows what she's thinking, you know what he's thinking, and then obviously the spicy scenes are a masterclass on multi brain scenarios that make the whole experience extremely
So
well.
third
I
person
can't do that.
limited alternating is it's a lot of fun for me because instead of being like behind the character's eyes, it's almost like being on their shoulder. So you do have like that separation where it's almost like telling yourself a bedtime story. Um, but like third person limited really allows you to like get into someone else's head. So Tanisha, she's the other historical romance. She does it too, and she calls it deep POV.
Okay,
Um,
I like
yeah,
that.
so that's her term for it, but it's basically as close that you can get without saying I.
Mm.
because for me, like that's the hardest part. That takes me out of the story, the first person I. It's a little bit more seamless for me when it's third person limited. And I'm glad to know that I'm doing it well because I feel like it is actually a little bit challenging
It's,
to not only, because with third person limited, you're trying to get across not only what's going on, but how they're feeling about it. And they're the one telling you the story still. Because third person omniscient is like, okay, they went here, but it doesn't really give you that internal thought.
mhm.
And then you can kind of bleed in like actual, like, you know what, screw this guy type of thoughts. You can just like put them in there, like, what am I even doing?
I think it's super challenging, and I tried to do it with like one little chapter that I was like trying stuff out. It was nothing serious, and I struggled. I was 3/4 of the way in the chapter, and I went back and changed everything to I, because I can't. For me, the reason why I love I is because it doesn't make me feel like it's me. I feel like that's a common misconception. Like when I
Yes.
read a story that's in first person.
It's like someone else is telling you a story.
Yes, for me, it's
Mhm.
like someone's recounting. Like I'm in a coffee shop with a friend, and she's telling me this crazy story of what happened Saturday. Like that's how it feels like to me. With third person limited, it feels more formal. I get what you mean with
Mhm.
like someone telling you a bedtime story. It definitely has that vibe. And I will admit that books written that way, I read them faster than the
Mhm.
ones with I. I'm a
Yep.
pretty fast reader, but I've noticed that books that successfully do their person limited, they're easier to read for some reason.
I think it's more like a movie. Like so whenever I read it, it's really easy for me to get into it. Like 'cause it's the same with like watching any sort of TV show. It's like more or less what's going on in their head because they'll throw in these dialogues or internal monologue every now and then. But for me, it's really easier for it to get into a narrative because I have a hard time accepting that. Otherwise, it feels like someone else's diary, and it feels almost kind of like wrong for me to read it. But I tried writing in first person as well because my little sister, she prefers first person as well. And I got about a chapter through and I was like, no, I can't do this. So you really have to work with what your brain says is okay.
Yeah, no, 100%, because I cannot write that way. Hopefully one day I'll get good enough to be able to do it, but for now, I think because I believe that, and I like mysteries regardless of genre,
Hmm.
I like mysteries in my writing. And actually, can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, because I think my microphone's about to die, but we'll see. Um, so for me, I like mystery, and I love an unreliable narrator. I
Hmm.
love
You
an.
can do that with third person limited.
You're right. You're right. You're right. But for me, like when I write a lot about like. For me, one of my recurring themes I've learned is I like to write about what it feels to be human and how
Hmm.
difficult being a person is. Because goddamn, it's hard
Oh
to
yeah,
to navigate self-doubt, to navigate insecurities, to navigate anger, and very tough emotions that
you can
just.
still do that with third person.
But I can't do that.
Yeah, yeah, your your creative process doesn't allow that to flow without that I get that. Because mine
Yeah.
doesn't allow it to flow with it.
So, and I just find that so fascinating, because I wish I was like you, because I think what you're doing
No,
is
no, no, no.
way harder. And I think it's very sophisticated, and it's hard to do. And a lot of people do it really wrong. And I think that's why there's more eyes out there than
You know, I think it's personal preference, and I don't think that third person limited is any harder than first person because I honestly think that first person is really difficult to do right. Um, but I honestly of the two, I think first person, and that's just my preference as well, but I think first person is actually the more challenging one.
Interesting. Why?
Yeah, but I mean like because if you don't get the dialogue right, or if you don't get like that internal feeling right, then you lose everything. So it really does like first person kind of hinges on that like emotional experience. With third person limited, you can, I'm not saying you can force it, but I feel like there's a little bit more flexibility. But because you're so close in a first person, like it's harder to get that overall feeling of everything that's going on outside of that person. So that's why I like third person limited, is I can kind of take a step back and see what else is in the room. But I feel like if it's not 100% from that person's eyes, it's a little harder.
Mhm.
So for me, that's why I think it actually is more challenging to do it right.
Okay. Well, fair enough. I think
But
that's
that's a personal thing too, because you like obviously you just said the same thing about third person limited. So
yeah. I mean, I think it's just I think it's just kind of a crazy. I think it's just representative of how people do their art, right? Like some
mhm.
people paint with acrylics, other people paint with oil, with
Yeah,
oil.
there's no wrong way to do it. It's just preference and how your brain works.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I will say, I want to write my first like books that I read was J.K. Rowling, and I always admire how she wrote, and I've always tried to not imitate her, but like get that
Emulate.
emulate and like try to get that same that same magic. No pun intended. That like takes you and puts images in your brain. Like I remember reading for the first time those books, and just the imagery was in my brain. Like I couldn't explain
Mhm.
it. I
Yeah,
wasn't,
it's like watching a movie.
yeah, I wasn't reading, I was watching a movie. And so that's why I admire Third Person Limited so much, and I want to get to that level. But until then, I will write my silly little eyes and switch
No, I
POVs.
don't think it's silly. I don't think it's silly. But if it's something that you're really interested in, play around with it. So, like, it's not a talent. Writing's not really a talent. It's a skill.
Mhm.
So all it does is you take practice, and if you wanted, like, if you really wanted to write third person limited and you feel like you wanted to do it good, then all you really have to do is read a whole bunch. So like that's your greatest toolkit as a writer is to read, but really changing how you read, like not just reading for enjoyment. So it's like when you were like, oh, I might just read your book again. I was like, okay, cool. Notice how I do it. Like watch what I'm doing. Because that's where you'll really like where you really learn. So I pay attention to like Julia Quinn or Lisa Kleypas or Mary Balog. Those are like the historical romance authors that I really read. And I'm like, okay, cool. How are they doing pacing? How are they doing language? Where are they putting internal monologue? And the more you do that, like, you're really feeding your brain information. So if you practice that, because my first ones sucked, like honestly, they suck so bad. But it literally is just practice. It's the same as when you do anything with architecture. Um, you just practice until you get it right.
Yeah, no, and there's definitely iterative process. I think every art, every design, everything that you do is an iterative process.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I strongly believe that. And no, and that's why I'm reading so much. I've never read so much in my life. I think in this year, which I know some people are like at book 70, but for me, I've read 14 books this year so far, and I'm pretty proud about that. So
Yeah, you're
uh,
really killing it for sure.
that's,
Like I
yeah,
don't know how many books
half
I've
of
read. I think I've just read mine. Well, actually, no, I've read two. No more than that. I don't know. I don't count. But you're way far ahead of me for sure.
no, and half of those are indie authors, which is
Okay.
and I like to read both, highly established books and indie authors, because it keeps my foot on the pulse of what's going on, what the buzz is about. I try to make my reviews on books that are more popular shorter, because I don't think they deserve as much amplification, but it does bring people to my page. And then in the authors, I'll talk 3 minutes about it, make a live.
No, and I totally appreciated you making that video and posting on Goodreads and posting on Amazon because it's like you have no idea how helpful that is and how beneficial. And I just like I bragged about it for like an entire week. Like I still brag about it. I'm like, look at this, like, oh my goodness. Because that, like for me, that's kind of what makes it all worth it, is like, okay, not only did someone enjoy my book, and it's like, you clearly did, like you made it very clear. But like you took the time to not only read my book, but to actually let other people know what you felt about it. And it's like that's like I said, I'm just gonna fangirl over you. Like I am not worthy. I do not deserve it. So that like thanks, like for sure.
You are worthy. And we have new people, so I'm going to show it again for the 17th time. This is the book we're talking about.
Yeah.
She wrote it. She's amazing. You need to read it. If you like romance, read it. There is spicy scenes in it, if that's your thing. And it's really well done. It's really good. It's the only book I've given 5 stars this year.
That
I've
makes
read
me feel
14
good.
books, and this is the only one that I've given 5 stars. And I gave it 5 stars before I started getting to know her. So her and I's relationship did not influence my review, not even a little bit. It just happened to be great that she's also an amazing person.
Oh,
So
thank you.
um,
Thank you. I do try.
so the next is kind of we're wrapping up, and I want you to give one piece of advice, just one piece of advice to any authors that are here, uh, based on your journey that you think
Oh
is
gosh,
just
just
one?
one, just one. Um, every single word is practice. Like, don't get too attached to words. I'm actually going to make this a lot. I'm going to like just go on forever. But consider every single word as practice and don't get attached to them. So, like, get used to throwing words away because the more you get down, like, the more you actually write, the better at writing you'll be. But if you don't get attached to those words, then you can really let your creativity flow a little bit more. But mainly, like, that's just it is like, A, don't give up. And don't get attached to your words. Just write because every word is practice. So there you go. There's actually three.
Okay.
Maybe more too, but that's it.
That's three pieces of advice. They're all linked together.
But
It's
don't give up because it's so hard. Like that's the first one is if you're struggling to write a book and you're like, there's no way I can do this, like you're totally wrong. You can do it. It just takes time, it takes work, and it takes practice. But it can be done. So don't give up.
okay. Thank you. I took that personally.
Yeah, sorry. You especially.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay. So what's next? I know we're writing Matthew's story. Is that the biggest thing? The biggest what's next in your life right now?
Yes, that is the biggest what's next in my life is I am currently writing Matthew's story. Like I actually narrowed down the how of it today because I more or less have the plot, but like I need that first pinch point, and I figured that out today. So that should more or less be relatively quick. I've got about 20,000 words on that. For this draft, it'll probably be about 50,000 because I tend to overwrite, so I'm underwriting this time and then I'll expand.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's number one next.
All right. Okay. Shameless plug. Where do we find you? How do we get your book? Just give me everything
So
because
I'm exclusively on Amazon. And I know that there's like a lot of people that, they're protesting Amazon, but for indie authors, it's really one of our only avenues. So I'm available on Kindle U. I'm on ebook and paperback as well, like you have it. It's gorgeous. She's so pretty. But that's pretty much all it is for now because I've only been out for like 3 weeks. So I'm still kind of like leaning into it.
this is the book.
And yeah, that's Memories of You. I'm J.M.Zamudio.
Awesome.
But
Well,
yeah.
thank you so much for joining me in this this little test. This is kind of how I envisioned the interviews to go for all the other indie authors. You are my first guinea pig. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
allowing
of
me
course.
to
And
test.
thanks for having me along. And thanks for everyone on the live. It's good to have you along.
Thanks for everyone who tuned in. I appreciate it. My name is A. Duhern. I am writing my debut novel, and while I'm doing that, I am probably reviewing yours. So follow me, but don't follow me. If you have to choose one person to follow, go follow her.
No, follow both. That's okay.
Because she's way more established and way she actually has a book out, so follow her. She also gives amazing writing advice, and
Yeah,
um
yeah. Anyone that has any questions, like I'm not an expert, but I give a good pep talk.
she's an amazing pep talker, by the way. So thank you so much. We've been on a live for an hour and a half, which is amazing. Thank you so much, and I'll chat with you later.
All right, awesome. Everyone have a good night.
If you watched this far, thank you so much. Like I said at the beginning, this was episode 0. There's a lot of things that have changed since then. I've learned a lot of lessons from this episode, and we have a couple of more authors lined up. I will publish every week, so make sure you like and subscribe. And if you don't want to do any of that, make sure you stay tuned so that you can see all the cool things that we have lined up for you. Until next time.